When the tropics are active and timing is everything, the Weather Authority is keeping you prepared.
The latest update did come in from the National Hurricane Center. Helene moving north-northeast. Winds have increased up to 90 miles per hour.
Keeping you informed.
It's now 170 miles northwest of us, and as we had mentioned, this is a major Cat 4 hurricane. This is going to have major landfall implications.
Southwest Florida has seen its fair share of storms in the past few years.
We are leaving immediately after this because it is not safe. You're starting to see some of these debris, sticks flying up and out, and it's one of the reasons why Sanibel is evacuated. It clearly is not safe out here.
But our slice of paradise has bounced back in ways we'd never expected.
It's tough.
We had each other, and that's a good thing.
I wouldn't have made it without Marianne. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it.
Wink News has been there with you every step of the way. That won't change.
Yes, we avoid the worst part of the storm, but the wind field's growing and the pressures are deepening. We're going to feel more of that influence on the back end with the surge.
From forecast cones to safety tips, the Weather Authority team has you covered. You're watching Wink Tracks the Tropics. All right, welcome on in and happy Wednesday, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's edition of Wink Tracks the Tropics. I am your host, meteorologist Josh Green, checking in with you. Hopefully you've had a beautiful day so far. Weather-wise, we continue to not complain out there. We call it Chamber of Commerce weather. Sunshine, blue skies, a little warm out there. We'll talk a little bit about that warm trend here in the state of Florida, and also a little bit about how that drought has been settling in over the past few weeks, how we're stacking up so far on rainfall, and also if we can expect any rain here close at home over the next couple of weeks. So break that all down for you. Of course, it's in the name. The tropics. Yes, the season is coming to a close. I've got that countdown clock ready to go and showing you what that looks like. We'll also talk just a little bit about, what the recent model trends have been, how this season has stacked up in comparison to the forecast that was made by NOAA earlier on this hurricane season. And we'll also have a few explainers kind of talking about some, names when it comes to the tropics that are good to know, right? What different kind of systems are called based on how strong they are. We talk about invests and tropical depressions, all these kind of things. So I'm going to define that all for you. We've also got a few different fun weather explainers as well. Lots to get to today. Lucky for me, I have an amazing panel joining me. Let's go ahead and pop them up today. We have meteorologists Nikki Sheeks and Oceana Hayden. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Very good, very good. So hey, we love to see this. I told you I'm going to show you this countdown clock every single day until we get to the end of hurricane season. Every single day gets a little shorter. 11 days, that is all that remains. That's right, do your happy dance, folks. The official end of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season is on November 30th. And man, we are just so close to the finish line. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I love this platform because it's interactive, right? If you have any questions, comments, want to let us know where you're watching from today, go ahead and drop those in the comment section on both our YouTube and Facebook page. We'd love to interact with you. And I know things are quiet out there. That doesn't mean that you might still have some random questions when it comes to hurricane season. That's what we are here for, and we would love to hear from you. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on out there right now across the Atlantic, the Gulf, and the Caribbean as well. Good news is absolutely nothing. That's been the trend over the past few weeks at this point, and we're not expecting anything new to develop for at least the next 7 days. That's according to the National Hurricane Center. They release this outlook multiple times, about 4 times every single day during hurricane season. Now, the Climate Prediction Center, as advertised yesterday, has come out with their brand new extended tropical outlook. It's released every Tuesday afternoon, so this is your first look at it on Wink Tracks the Tropics. Now, this extended outlook runs from November 26th all the way to December 9th, which fully takes us through the end of the hurricane season, even about a week and a half past that. If you're looking at this graphic, you say, well, I guess maybe it's not loading. Maybe something's not working right. No, your eyes do not deceive you. That's the point. There is absolutely nothing on the Climate Prediction Center's radar over the next 2 to 3 weeks across the Gulf, Atlantic, and Caribbean. Not even a low-end chance of something developing. And folks, I'll tell you what, I really tend to agree with them, and here's the reason why. Over the past couple of weeks, the models have shown very good agreement and consistency that we are not expecting new tropical development. This is the European model, performed quite well this year. Its ensemble members, the European is not just one model. All right, there's multiple different ensemble members that have different starting conditions. They're sampling the atmosphere in different ways, and they spit out an outcome. This outcome is showing us where areas of low pressure, which could be tropical systems in the right environment, are developing. Keep in mind, there are dozens of ensemble members within the Euro, and only one of them showing any area of low pressure down in the southern Caribbean. The three that you see on the right side of your screen, once you get that far into the Atlantic this time of year, the water temperature is just simply not habitable for a tropical system, so those are just random lows being picked up. But the southern Caribbean is really the only spot where there's just the conditions that could still support a tropical system, and it's really good to see that still this European has only shown one potential ensemble member popping something up, which tells us the probability of that actually, coming to life is very slim to none. That's just one model. Don't take its word. How about another model? This is the Google AI, also performed quite well, specifically the back half of this season. It says, you know what, we don't even think there's going to be any sort of area of low pressure that tries to develop in the southern Caribbean either. And both of these graphics take us through November 29th, the day before the end of hurricane season. So the fact that you look at this and you look at even longer range trends, it really paints a picture that we are in a different kind of pattern at this point, and we're not expecting any tropical activity throughout the rest of the season. So what does that mean? That means for the first time in 10 years, since 2015, we have had no hurricanes in the Gulf, and there have not been any hurricanes to make landfall in the United States. And again, it has been a while since that happened, 10 years. I'll bring back in my panel right now because I just want to get your opinion on this, guys. Are we agreeing with what the Climate Prediction Center is seeing out there? And what are your thoughts on this?
I have to say, I think it's looking pretty good. It looks like we're going to end this on a quiet note. I do agree with the Climate Prediction Center. I don't want to see Nestor. I don't think anyone does. And I'm pretty confident. I like their confidence. I like what the models are saying overall. So I'm going to agree with them, yes.
I mean, I would say over the last week or so, I haven't even bothered looking at the ensembles because I'm just so sure that this season is just done for.
Yes.
Hey, we love it. Both of those responses are exactly what I'm leaning towards as well. And Oshan, you mentioned Nestor, so I do want to pop up the list of names because if anyone was wondering what that was, that's actually the next name that's on the list.
Yes.
We can pop that up. We had Melissa, unfortunately, a catastrophic, powerful Category 5 hurricane, tied for the strongest to ever make landfall in the Atlantic Basin based on pressure. Of course, devastated western Jamaica, had widespread impacts across the Caribbean as well. But since then, there has been nada. And the next name on the list would be Nestor, followed by Olga and Pablo. And we're just not going to get there. So the way it works, the hurricane season ends on November 30th. If there is somehow a system that develops in December, it would get a name from this list, the 2025 list. It's not unheard of, but it's very, very rare, and there's no indications out there that that will happen. If you get a system that develops in early next year, then it would not get pulled from this list. It would get pulled from the 2026 list. So that's just an interesting little tidbit there. Although the season only extends from May through November, the list of names encompasses the entire year. So
I remember a couple years ago we had a storm in January and it was like an unnamed storm, and I remember having that at the top of the list, like unnamed storm.
Right.
And then it went to our A storm.
Yes, exactly right. So, again, it's not unheard of out there, but the conditions have to be very right, and they are typically, not systems that reflect a normal system that develops during the actual hurricane season. So we'll keep that in mind. Now, I do want to kind of compare, because yes, this has been based on what the prediction showed and what the average is, a slightly below average year in terms of the amount of storms we have seen. NOAA's forecast back in early May called for 13 to 19 named systems. On average, there are 14. So their forecast was pretty much right on average, perhaps a little bit above average. And we saw 13, slightly below average, the amount of named storms. They called for 6 to 10 hurricanes. On average, we actually see 7. This year, we saw 5. Major hurricanes, that's the only category where we actually overperformed the average, which I think, again, is going to be the thing that stands out about the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. The fact that, yes, we didn't have a lot of hurricanes, but the ones that we did have rapidly intensified. 4 out of 5 of them went on to become major hurricanes. 3 out of those 5 went on to become Category 5 hurricanes, which again is even more rare based on the usual amount of Cat 5s that you see throughout the season. So it goes to show that hurricane season is just so much more than how warm the water is and if there's a certain amount of wind shear out there, right? Because the water was absolutely warm, so much so that the 5 hurricanes that we saw, 4 of them were able to grow into powerful major hurricanes. But that doesn't always mean that you're going to see a whole bunch of storms develop, because there are certain things that go into it that are just more than how warm the water is. So it's a very complex system, and overall, we're just thankful that the United States was able to go this season with a break. I think we absolutely needed it over the past, 10 years or so, right?
Oh yeah, and one thing I did want to talk about
Yeah.
when we were mentioning, having all those major hurricanes, I was recently doing an interview with a climatologist and an oceanographer, and something that they pointed out, which I thought was so interesting with Melissa. Now, Melissa was a very slow-moving storm, so that means it was sitting over those warm waters for a very long period of time. But typically, over time, a storm that large would basically use up all the warm water, and then a process called cold welling would take place. Basically, that cold, deep water would come to the surface and try to shut off the storm a bit. But because the water temperatures were so warm for such a deep portion of it, that never took place. And I thought that was so interesting, because there are just so many little details, little mechanisms that could help a storm, or could do the opposite.
That's a great point, Nikki, because it's not only just the temperature of the water at the surface, right? It's how deep does that warm water extend, because you can kind of think of these hurricanes as like a vacuum, right? They're sucking up that warm water that has a lot of available energy. So the first to go is the water at the surface, right? So that water kind of keeps rising, and if there's enough heat content deep enough, it has an unlimited fuel supply, versus if you just had that warm water right at the surface, and then that's when you talked about kind of that cool water upwelling starts to take place. So a lot of that oceanic heat content smack dab in the middle of the Caribbean. That's pretty much where it's the highest. When you think about this half of the world in the northern hemisphere, that's pretty much the hot spot when it comes to oceanic heat content. So yeah, Melissa took full advantage of that. So I do want to move on a little bit. Something that we talk about a lot are all these different kind of stages of tropical systems. We did that a lot this year, even before they get to the point where they're called tropical storms or hurricanes. So I want to kind of go through the lifespan of a typical tropical system and the kind of way that we track it as well. It starts off as a tropical wave. Melissa did that. We were talking about Melissa for probably a week and a half before it even became Melissa. That's because it was a tropical wave. It was just an area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms that was slowly drifting across the Atlantic. And we'll continue to use Melissa as an example here. Once it got to the point where it became a little bit closer to land, it was a little bit better organized. The National Hurricane Center went ahead and tagged it as an invest. That pretty much means it's an area that's being investigated by the National Hurricane Center. They can put hurricane models on that system, which are a little bit more accurate at determining path. Instead of sometimes the deterministic models that don't specifically latch on to one system, like some of these reliable hurricane models do. So when it's an invest, that means that we can look at the hurricane models on it. Sometimes the National Hurricane Center starts sending their hurricane hunters through the system as well to investigate it and just kind of see what's going on within it. At that point, it could do one of two things. Number one, it's close enough to land where it's likely going to make impacts within the next 72 hours, but it's not quite ready to be designated as an organized tropical system yet. At that point, sometimes they can name it a potential tropical system. Now, bring in my panel real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, but did we have any of these potential tropical systems this year? Like maybe one or maybe none?
I feel like we had
like
one.
One, okay.
Was it that one that went, was it Imelda? Did that start as did they release a PTC for that?
That's a great question.
With the Bahamas, remember we were kind of thinking that maybe
I was
going to
say there's one like
Right.
through the Bahamas where they had to do it because
Which
it's
one
like
was
within a
that?
certain time frame they
Right.
have to have that out.
I don't recall which one that was.
Well, we can look it up for sure. But, you know, I think it kind of goes to show that this year we didn't have a lot versus I'd say the past 2 years, we had a lot of
Yeah.
potential tropical systems, like several, right? And sometimes it can be confusing, right, for viewers especially, because when they look at this, they say, what does a potential tropical system mean? Like,
Yeah.
is it a system? Is it not? Like, what are we doing here? The reason why they do that is because it allows the National Weather Service to go ahead and issue those hurricane watches and warnings and tropical storm watches and warnings before even the system starts to take shape enough, all right? So it's kind of a protective barrier of saying, hey, it's not there yet, but it is going to be, and it is going to impact land. Therefore, we're going to call it a potential tropical system. We can create a forecast cone, and we can also start issuing those watches and warnings and advisories as well. So if you see that next hurricane season, that's exactly what it is. All right, let's pop back over to the graphics because I want to kind of show you the next name in line, right? So let's say it does get its act together. It becomes an organized system where it has a closed center of circulation, winds rotating counterclockwise, and a warm core system. That's kind of the baseline. Then it becomes a tropical depression. That's if it has sustained winds of 38 miles or less. And then once it gets above that threshold of 38 miles per hour, then it finally gets a name. Tropical depressions are given numbers, right? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. Invests as well are also given a number in between 90 and 99, and they put an L at the end, like for Atlantic. And then tropical storms and hurricanes, obviously those have a name, and those are when the winds exceed 39 miles per hour and onwards. So that's kind of the lifespan of these systems. Now, a couple other things that you may hear sometimes. Sometimes you get normal tropical systems, and then you may hear say it's becoming extra tropical. What in the world is that? Well, the main difference is what it's getting its energy from. A normal tropical system, like I mentioned, in order to be designated a tropical system, it needs to have a warm core, all right? Its main fuel supply is warm oceanic waters. Now, an extratropical system does not. It's actually cold. The core of the system is cold. Its energy source is where the warm air kind of starts to clash with the cold air. And another big difference is that the structure of the system is different. A tropical system, the structure is very organized, right? You have the strongest winds near the center of the storm, and it rotates counterclockwise, and it's not attached to anything else. Extratropical systems, it actually has fronts. It's not as organized. It has a cold front, and it has a warm front attached to it. It's kind of similar to what you see move across the middle of the country all the time. When we get a cold front moves through, it's always attached to an area of low pressure, and there's always likely a warm front on the northern half of it. So those are kind of the big differences there between tropical and extratropical systems. And then we have subtropical systems as well. And this one, you know, you guys can kind of chime on this as well. The differences between an extratropical and a subtropical system, they're not that big. All right, I think it's kind of more of the lifespan. A lot of the times when these systems begin to move further off towards the north, they become extratropical. And it's a similar story with the subtropical winds as well. Subtropical storms, because they kind of have those cool centers, the cores, and the strongest winds are not focused towards the middle of the storm, but more so away. So
that was Karen, right? Was
yes.
Karen the subtropical?
Yes, that's exactly what that was.
Good old Karen.
And again, that was I believe the furthest north storm to ever develop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of goes to show, you know, where it's positioned and what the water temperatures are, kind of determine, you know, what that system's going to be. So in the future, if you hear those two terms, then you know they don't meet the characteristics and the criteria to be named actual tropical systems. Okay, that does it when it comes to tropics-wise, but Nikki's here. All right, and something really interesting happened yesterday in the United States, just about as far away from the state of Florida as we can get. I'll let you go ahead and talk about this.
Well, something we definitely don't experience, and before the show I was telling Josh that I would like to experience this, and he kind of thought it was a little crazy, but that is polar night. That is currently taking place, so if we could pull up that graphic, I could show you guys the exact
Yeah, we'll pull up weather 2 real
details
quick.
on that.
Same graphic, it's going to show that polar night beginning.
There we go. So it actually began yesterday. And so in the Arctic Circle, they will not see a sunrise until we head into January. And so it's going to remain dark for quite some time through the Arctic Circle. And that's all due to the angle of the Earth. So remember, Earth has a tilt of about 23.5 degrees. And so during winter, the Earth is tilted away from the sun. And that kind of leaves areas in the polar circle under a shadow of darkness throughout this time frame because of the curve of the Earth. And so that's why they're dealing with polar night. And so remember, the Earth is constantly rotating around the sun, so that'll change as we head into the coming days. But as of the next, 2 months, they are going to be seeing those dark skies. And I think we have a view of that over in Alaska. Take a look at this. It's 7:22 in the morning and it is dark, like it's the middle of the night. And that's what it's going to be looking like until January 22nd.
Wow.
And you know, I was thinking you may be sleepy all the time, always being dark, always being cold. It feels like -8 degrees right now. I just think this is really
Seeing
neat.
the single-digit temperature there is freaking me out. 7.
So Nikki must be a night owl because she says she wants to
am.
experience this, right?
She is.
Yes.
I mean, how long would you like to experience this for? Like the entire duration, like now till January 22nd?
Maybe like a week,
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
see how I carry on, and then maybe one day do the entirety of it.
You know,
I feel
this
like
is a
I'd
fun,
be living
it's
like
a-
Groundhog Day. Like every day is the same.
Yeah.
This is a fun town too. I've seen several videos of it, like on TikTok and stuff. And you know, people go to visit, and they actually have like really cool restaurants and a really cool community. It used to be
nice.
called Barrow, Alaska, and then it was actually given its native name, I believe, back in 2016. You can pronounce that. I believe it's like
I'm not gonna try that one.
Is that a
Utagbik-
Q?
I think there's a Q thrown in there.
something along the lines.
Wow.
But it's cold.
Yeah.
But it's
tell you that.
cold.
That is a really cool fun fact there, and I'm glad that you kind of explained how that sun angle works as well. Time now to take it a little bit close at home. It's time for our Wink Weather Watcher Spotlight. And we can talk a little bit about sun angles here too, because I saw this picture this morning. I said, oh my gosh, I love it. I have to feature this on air and online as well on Wink Tracks the Tropics. If we could pull up that picture real quick, it's absolutely beautiful. We're waiting for that graphic to load up still on Weather 2, but once it does, it's amazing. It's a picture sent to us this morning from Joanne in Fort Myers. Here we go. It's coming back. It's coming back. You see, my graphics are a little lagged because I'm upstairs and the graphic system are downstairs.
Oh,
But there
wow.
you go. This is exactly what I wanted
Yeah,
to
I
show
could
you
barely
guys.
believe this picture.
This does not look like a local photo. This looks like New England.
right?
Listen. Joanne, South Fort Myers, she sends us pictures all the time. They're beautiful. I take her word for it.
She does. She's very reputable.
Oceana and I were talking about this, and it may be just kind of based on the sun angle because it was taken this morning. And I'll tell you what, I was at the 6 Mile Cypress Slough the other day, and you can actually see, on some of the pines out there and some of the larger trees that yes, the colors have changed, all right? I was noticing some orange and red hues.
Yeah.
So that's why 100% that yes, it is possible in Southwest Florida to get a little bit of a taste of fall, perhaps not for a long time and perhaps not like anywhere else in the country, but we can. So that's why I'm just a big fan of this picture.
I'm also a big fan. I can see that in like a frame on
Yes.
in someone's office. I mean, it's just beautiful. I love it.
Absolutely. So thank you, Joanne, for sending that to us. And if you do want to join our Weather Watchers, go ahead, head to our Facebook or our website as well. It gives you all that information on how you can join. Again, if you have any questions, comments, want to let us know where you're watching from, go ahead and tap in there on Facebook and YouTube. Now, as we come to the tail end of the show, I do want to talk a little bit locally, all right? Because one thing that we've not had a lot of is rainfall over the past several weeks now. In fact, look at this. This is the countdown that we don't like to see. We like the hurricane season one, not so much this one, right? Because the numbers keep rising. It's now been a little bit over 3 weeks, 23 days in Naples and Fort Myers since we've had any measurable rainfall, 20 days in Punta Gorda. Now that's great for outdoor plans, right? And folks that are coming into town, enjoying the sunshine. I mean, this is the time to do it. That's what the dry season is known for here in Southwest Florida. But it's also when we start to see that drought really start to set in. It's not terrible right now. All right. Abnormally dry conditions expand most of the region, but notice that level 2 out of 5, that's a moderate drought, is now starting to slip a little bit further south. It encompasses all of Sarasota County, most of DeSoto County, and portions of Charlotte, including Punta Gorda and Port Charlotte. I'm already starting to see some of the water management districts actually want to lower the amount of water that they're recommending that folks use. And that's not only because of, the drought conditions right now, but also preparing for what's to come, right? Because the dry season has just began, and it's not like I'm seeing any giant rain chances over the next 7 days. We actually do have a new update coming our way from the U.S. Drought Monitor tomorrow at 9 a.m. So I'll show it to you live on Wink News on air, but I'm also going to show it to you here on Wink Tracks the Tropics to kind of just get an idea of how quickly that drought is expanding. I'll pull in my panel here real quick because, this is something that we watch pretty consistently. What are your guys' kind of predictions when it comes to what we're going to see from that drought monitor tomorrow? Is it going to be a drastic change or maybe just a slight one?
I know over the weekend I was telling the viewers that I think we're going to see that level 2 drought really increase across the area. And I think, unfortunately, we're already seeing some of those wildfires. We've had a couple over the last week or so, and I'm scared that that's going to be an issue for us throughout this dry season since we're already starting off so behind.
Yeah, exactly. Our deficit is very great, especially in Punta Gorda and in Fort Myers. So the fact that we started off dry season so incredibly dry, like Nikki said, we're going into dry season for the next 6 months. So it's not a great sign in terms of the amount of fires that we could definitely see.
Yeah, especially when you think about it. The wildfire season really starts to take off like February, March, and April. So right now it's kind of laying the groundwork. The moisture in the soil is still present right now, so that's the good news. That's why right now is when we're going to see a lot of those prescribed burns. Right, we want to get rid of all of that excess brush out there, all the dead stuff as well. But then as we head in towards early 2026, that's when we're going to really need to keep an eye on things and just hope for a little bit of rain out there. It doesn't need to rain every single day, but a good soaking at least once a week, that definitely does its job to help at least alleviate some of those drought conditions a little bit. Now, if you're wondering how much rain we're expecting over the next 7 days, it's simply not a whole lot. You pop that up for me real quick and it shows you the rain chances. Yeah, not for us here in Southwest Florida. There's a very weak front that moves through on Sunday. I'm going to show you that. I'm also going to show you why our friends at the Weather Prediction Center are expecting the state of Florida and actually much of the country to be a little bit above average when it comes to rainfall over the next 8 to 14 days. That kind of brings us into the middle of next week through next weekend. Let me show you exactly why that is right here on this surface map. High pressure has been dominant across the state of Florida now over the past several days. All right, as long as that's in place, it just can't rain. Now, this is bringing us out to around Saturday. That's when that high pressure is going to start to kind of move out of the way. Here comes that weak front that I mentioned on Sunday. Here's the catch. It is very weak. It's not going to bring a lot of lift, and the moisture is just not going to be there. The two ingredients that we need to see rain are going to be lacking. Therefore, at the most, 1 or 2 stray showers. If I were you, I wouldn't anticipate on seeing the rain. It's just something to keep in mind on Sunday that possibility is there for 1 or 2 stray showers as that weak front moves through. Then we move into the week of Thanksgiving. Monday, Tuesday, it's going to be more just about those unseasonably warm temperatures, a good mix of sun and clouds out there, but a stronger storm system is going to start taking shape in the middle of the country. That'll be kind of the first of 2 fronts to sweep across the country, but eventually they start to catch up to each other as it heads down here into the state of Florida. Here we are on Thanksgiving. Notice that front is still off to our north, right? So below it, we've got a little bit more moisture, a little bit more lift. That's the reason why we have the chance for just a few showers on both Thursday and Black Friday. So that's Thanksgiving and Black Friday of next week. We have the chance for a few showers. We're only keeping the coverage at around 20 to 30%. So no, we're not anticipating a washout at this point. And then eventually that front will move through, and you're not going to notice the difference until we get to not this weekend, but next weekend. It lies just beyond the extent of our 10-day forecast. So I do encourage you to continue to tune into Wink News both on air and online, especially this weekend, right? Because that's when they're going to really start to detail what you can expect all throughout your Thanksgiving week. Guys, what's your thoughts on this 10-day forecast? We liking it? What do we like?
I wish it was a little cooler.
Right.
But at this time of year, we really got that taste of winter, dare I say, last week.
Yeah.
So going into the holidays, I think that we do have a chance to see some colder temperatures, in the next few weeks. But Thanksgiving, I would love to have a chilly Thanksgiving. I don't know the last time that I did.
You gotta go somewhere else.
It'd be nice to wear a sweater for Thanksgiving.
It would be nice.
You
It's a
still
tank top
can.
Thanksgiving.
Just stay
Just
inside.
be sweating.
Turn the AC on.
Not with the whole family in the house. Still gonna be warm.
Good point there. Well, hey, I'll tell you what, guys, that is going to do it from us here today. I want you to tune in tomorrow because not only get to get a look at that 10-day forecast, which will show a little bit of a hint of some cooler weather as we look ahead towards not this weekend, but next weekend, but we'll also kind of touch on some more details when it comes to things you just need to know heading into the next hurricane season. My panelists, thank you guys so much for joining us today, and thank you guys for watching at home. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place for Tracks the Tropics on Thursday at 11 a.m. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Bye.